Welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 tips how we can make or frame a good balanced question for any subject using Google Forms. My first tip is never give a question number to your paper you have made on the Google form. The reason being, if you're providing a number to a question, it becomes easier for the students to ask the answers online when nobody is watching them, obviously. So if you're not providing a number to the students, it will be difficult for them to ask the question number and ask the solution. Because you have not given a number. Now, my tip number 2 is, because you have not given a number to the question, shuffle your questions in the question paper. That means, let us suppose 20 students are doing a paper online and they all may not be viewing or seeing question number 1 same. Their questions will be jumbled and they will be watching different paper on the screens. For the settings, how you can do that, I'll show you. Go to this form which you have designed and go to the settings option. You will see this icon over here on the top and go to the setting option, and in the setting options you have the option as quiz. uh, in the option presentation, you can see here shuffle the question order. So if you are shuffling these question orders, all the questions which are given in your question paper will not be appearing to the students in the same sequence. It will be jumbled differently for each student appearing in the question paper. So it becomes a little difficult for the student to ask or share the answers because they are not watching the questions in the same sequence. Now, coming back to our tip number 3, as I've told you, shuffle the questions. The next tip is shuffle the options of a particular question also if it is MCQ based. Let us suppose you have given a question which is having an MCQ choice and it is having 3 or 4 options. So you can shuffle the options also. For example, I'll show you a question over here. Let us suppose this is the question which is an MCQ based and it has 4 options. What I can do is go to this symbol where 3 dots are appearing and click on it. When you click on it, it will show you the option as a shuffle the option order. Now, because I have given 4 options over here, switch, gateway, bridge and hub, which one is the correct answer? This sequence will not be appearing same for all the students on the paper. So the options, the answers will also be jumbled. So obviously, as we are not giving a number to the question, you should not give a number to the option also. Never give the option as option A, option B, option C, option D. Another thing I want to point out over here is many a times we see in MCQ questions where it is written all the above, none of the above. So instead of writing none of the above or writing option 1 and 2 is correct, option 3 or 4 is correct, because you are not giving any number to the options also, do not give any such description in the question which is mentioning any, which is relevant to any number. Be specific. For example, if I want to have a multiple correct answers, so you be specific about it, whether it is a switch and gateway, switch or gateway, none of the given options. So your options, your answer should be very much clear. Now, coming on to the next step, don't give a direct question. Try to add thinking based questions. Direct questions in the sense, let us suppose take an example of a mathematical problem where a numerical is given in the book or a numerical is given in some help book which is being prescribed by the teachers. Do not give a direct question as it is as given, because it becomes easier for the student to refer the solution if the question is already available somewhere. Add some of the questions in that form which need the student to study or understand the topic in detail. So try to frame the questions yourself, try to change the values yourself in each subject, try to make such a question where the student is not able to directly refer the book or not able to directly find out the answer from the Google also. One very important thing we have to keep it in mind over here is when we are conducting an online exam, it is more like an open book exam. So when an open book exam is being conducted and the student is sitting in front of a laptop or a mobile with a book and the notes provided with the teacher alongside, the students are definitely going to refer to their books and their notes provided by the teacher. So try to find out a question, try to frame a question in such a way that only those students are able to attempt those questions, those who have thoroughly studied the chapter, those who have thoroughly understood the notes. Do not give them loose time to go through the whole book. Do not give them the loose time to ask the friends or message the friends or share the answers with them. So you have to be very, very particular, and of course, you have to be smarter than the students for conducting such exams. Now, coming on to my next step, strict to the timing. Let us suppose you have given 20 questions and you assume that the time required for solving this paper is approximately 25 to 30 minutes. Do not give an extra time to the student. Stick to the timings and give a rehearsal to the students so that they are becoming comfortable with how to conduct an online exam. Do not just directly give them a paper that tomorrow is your paper and it will be evaluated. This is your terminal exam or your half yearly exam or your school or any other exam. Let them be conversant with how the paper can be, how they have to perform, how they have to attempt, and how fast they need to be in attempting the paper. Obviously, we being a teacher, because we have framed the questions, so we know the answers also. So maybe the time required by me to solving that same paper is approximately 20 minutes. Add some thinking time to it and make it in such a way that the students are getting the time to think. They might take a hint from a book, but they are not getting that much time for referring it on phone or through another unfair means through other friends. And now, how to stick to the timings? There are different ways how you can fix the timings. One is if you are sharing your paper on the Google form. Let me show you. If you're sharing your paper on the Google form and and the students start submitting the answers, you will see the responses coming over here, and on the top of the paper, you will get an option over here where not accepting responses bar is being displayed. By default, this bar is active, which is ready for accepting the responses. But if you click on it, now the paper has been blocked. That means the moment your time is over, the students will not be able to submit the answers to the paper. You may give a release warning. You may release a warning to the students on the WhatsApp group or any other message or beforehand that the paper will be blocked at this particular time, and make sure that they are ready with the paper, maybe the link before the paper starts, so that if there is any time difference between your clock on your computer and the time clock appearing on the student's computer machine, there may be a lapse or a delay or a time gap of say 2 to 3 minutes. So always keep that time in mind. Let us suppose I have framed this paper for to be completed in 20 minutes, and I have told the students that the paper will be blocked in 20 minutes. Block it at around 23 minutes, so that even if there is a time lapse of 2 to 3 minutes in their watches or on their computer, they may be able to cover it up. Okay, now coming on to my next step. For a revision purpose, let us suppose you have planned a paper, but before that you want to give a revision to the students. A revision is very convenient to be taken with the help of an MCQ based paper, where you can give questions and the answers may be given in the form of options where the student can choose, and the answer keys can be stored pre-hand. So if your answers are already stored, you don't have to check the paper. The answer keys may be released immediately after the paper is being submitted by the students, and the students can see their score there itself on the screen. But this method is good enough just for the revision purpose, but this is not good enough for a proper paper. I'll show you how you can set the keys and store the answers where the students can see the scores. For example, let me go to the question paper. This is my question and I want to store the answer key for it. So go to the click on the question paper. It will show you the answer key at the bottom, and at the answer key it is showing me these answers. I can shuffle or I can change the answer key whichever is correct and store it there. And obviously the marks to be provided by the question. For each question I have given this question as 1 mark, but you can increase the time, the marks weightage for each question over here. So once I have done all these settings, I can save it as done and my settings are saved. So for me it is showing me this is the correct answer, but when it is shown to the student, this tick is not shown to the student. The child or the student will be able to see this correct option only after the paper is being submitted by the student. So if you want the marks to be released immediately after the paper is submitted by the students, we have to go to the settings again. Go to the settings, and obviously here you can see the response receipt. If you want to give a receipt to the students, you have to collect the mail and then a response receipt can be given to the student. Limit the responses to 1 so that the students are not submitting multiple answers to your paper. And here, as I told you, respondents can edit after submit. So do not select this. The student should not be allowed to edit the answers after the submission. Let's coming on to the presentation. The students can see the progress bar, how many questions the child has done. Obviously, I already told you how to shuffle the questions, and this is just a confirmation message I have written here. Once the student is submitting the paper, after that the student will see this message on the screen. Whatever you type here will be displayed onto the screen to the student, just to make sure that the student gets this message that his or her paper is successfully submitted. When I go to this option quizzes, I can see here release marks. If it is just an MCQ based paper and you select this option immediately after each submission, then whatever answer keys you have made set while framing the questions, those keys will be visible to the students after this submission. But if your question paper is not all MCQ based, like I showed you my paper, it is having some descriptive answers also. The students have to upload some images also over here. So I can check that paper manually so the marks can be released later on. But yes, obviously I have seen here the respondent must be able to see the mixed questions, the correct answers and the point values. So once the student has submitted the paper and the marks are released, the student should be able to see all these things. So do not forget to check all these options over here. So I just cancel over here because I do not want to make any changes to my settings. One small thing over here, just to make a paper a little attractive, okay, let me choose an image over here. Let us suppose I inserted this image over here, and you can see that this image appears on the screen. So I can change the theme, I can change the color, just to make my paper a little bit attractive. This is just an addition to this. Now let us coming on to our next tip. Tip number 7. For conducting a paper with the aim of evaluation, don't give just MCQs. Bring a variety to your paper, add different kinds of questions in your paper. For example, let us go back to a paper over here. This is a question I have given where the student is supposed to upload an image. That means after reading this question, the student has to attempt the paper on a paper with a pen and pencil and click the photograph of that solution and upload this image over here. Now, we can see here how the solution of this paper has been submitted by the student. We can see here that this question has been uploaded by the student in the form of an image. So if I click on that image, I'll be able to see the solution of the paper done by the student on a paper and a pen. So once the paper is open, I can obviously check it, I can correct it, and if I want to give some comments over here, I can select it and I can write down a comment over here also. For example, question not noted correctly. Any comment which I want to say here, if I press comment over here, this comment will be shared with this particular arrow over here. So I can evaluate it, I can mark it, I can write the comments also on the paper and return it back to the student. So similarly, I have given a question over here in the form of the image. Here in this question, I have written a question and I have given an image of a question for the illustration of the question. Now, how to add an image to the question? You can see here when I type down a question over here, let us go to a blank form. I want to write down a question over here, but with the help of, along with the question, I want to see the given image. And this is a symbol given over here, and I can upload an image over here, browse an image over here, and upload it to my paper. Let us suppose an image I want to add over here. Whatever image I'm selecting here will be uploaded here, and I can continue with that image. So as I showed you, this image has been uploaded here. Now in the settings, I can align it to the center, I can align it to the left, I can make these settings whatever I want to do, or even I can change, even I can add a caption to this image, whatever caption. So in the caption, I can write down the detailed explanation of this image also. For example, I gave some heading and there is a sub part of this question. That sub part of the question can be written here in the caption of the image. So in order to add something to it. Okay. Now this again question is of image based. Now here again I have told the student to add an image to the question. In this question I have given an image and the student is supposed to write down the answer. This is an MCQ type question, and but in another paper I will show you. Now when I go to this question, I have the option of check boxes. If I go down here, I can have different kinds of questions, short answers, paragraph. If my answer is just one line answer, I can go with the short answer. If my answer is a 3, 4, 5 lines answer, I can go with a paragraph. I can have multiple choice questions where the student will be able to select only one out of the given options. In the check boxes, if my multiple answers are correct, for example, in this question, more than one answer may be correct, as you can see that two options are correct in this question. So I can, for such kind of questions, I can go with the check boxes. And then a drop down. Let us suppose I want to give a list and I want the students to select the answer out of it. So a drop down list. This is for file upload. If I want the students to add an image to my answer, I will go for this file upload. For example, let us suppose I want the student to upload the file image over here, and I say upload the image for the solution to this question. And I want the students to upload an image over here. I'll go to file upload, and it will ask me that the students will have to fill it with their link. And I said, okay, continue. Okay. Now in this screen over here, it is asking me for the details. Any specific type of file if I want to add. So I can say yes. If I want to go for a specific format of a file, I want a PDF file, I want a video, I want a spreadsheet, or a Word file, a presentation, a drawing, an image, or an audio. But I'm keeping it open for the student. They may add any kind of record over here, but it's your choice. Now, how many number of files or how many number of images are allowed to the students? You can add over here 1, 2, 3, and the maximum size of the image also, or the file also, you can set over here. So these different options are given over here to you, and once done and you click on to some other question, these settings are done. So bringing a variety to the question, the students will be more involved and focused onto your paper, and just giving MCQ paper makes it easier for the student to copy and cheat. Now coming on to my next step. Whenever you are asking the students to upload an image, always make sure that they are writing their name on top of that paper. This is required so that, let us suppose there is a big numerical or a question or an essay written by the student, and you do not want this answer to be shared with the students. Let us suppose a student wrote down an essay of say 300 words, and the student forwarded that essay to his or her friends also, and they all copied that and added that image into their forms. So make it sure that the students are supposed to write their name on the paper, and then only they are supposed to upload the image. So you can see here that wherever uh, is required, I have written here your name must be written on each image uploaded. And wherever they are supposed to upload an image, I have mentioned it here. Write your name on the paper before uploading the image. I have made it very specific. Write your name on the solution. So, and before the papers was being conducted, in the rules itself, I told the students that if your name is not written on the image or the solution uploaded in the form of an image, that question will not be uploaded. Or sorry, it will not be evaluated. So this is another thing you can implement for making it sure that the students are not sharing the answers. Next important feature which I'm going to tell you here is Timify Me app, which shows the timer on the screen and to the students, and you can the students will not be able to submit their paper once their time is over. We can fix the timings in two ways. One, by blocking the paper ourselves, and another one, automatic blocking of the paper with the help of Timify Me. There is a difference between using this app and the Google form. First of all, let me show you both the ways how we can fix the time of the paper. As I showed you that in the responses, you will get a red bar on the top which will show you not accepting the responses. So if by default it is blue and it shows you accepting the responses. So whenever your paper time is over, you can change the status and it will stop accepting the responses. This I have done manually. That means, let us suppose my paper started at 11 o'clock, or maybe at the school timings 8 o'clock, and the paper is supposed to get over after 2 hours. So my paper will stop after 2 hours, because I will have to manually switch it off at 2 hours. After 8 to 10, let us suppose the paper is being conducted between 8 to 10. So after 10 o'clock, the students will not be able to submit their papers. But please make sure that you are available online. In case the student is not able to upload the images or upload the solutions, tell them to send the images immediately on your mail or on your WhatsApp group or wheresoever. But do not, or maybe you can extend the time to say 3 or 4 minutes just as a grace. That is to your liberty only. But do not give too much time to them, because it helps the student in sharing the answers, in cheating, and in using unfair means. The another way is using our Timify app. Now I'll show you how you can go with that. I've already inserted this add-ons. When I go on to add-ons, by default it adds the add-ons to my forms. Because this setting I have already done, so this add-on feature is already appearing on my screen. But if you're doing it for the first time, it will set these add-ons on your screen. So once I click on this add-on, it will ask me for a Timify Me, and if I say Timify Me, I say configure. So once you configure it, you can say this add-on enabled. But at present it is enabled, so I'm disabling it. So at this moment it is disabled, but I will enable it. Once it is enabled, now my paper is linked with this app, that is Timify Me. So I can go to this dashboard of Timify Me, and you can see here that all the papers which are being conducted with the help of Timify Me are being linked over here, because I have linked my papers over here, with this Timify app. So On this dashboard, I have sent these mail to the students, and if you're fixing the timing with the help of Timify Me, all the papers will be sent to the mail of the students. Now you have two choices. Either you can make a public link, and that link can be given to the students on the WhatsApp group. But giving this link to the WhatsApp group makes it convenient for the students that someone else is doing the paper on his or her behalf. But yes, if you are sending it through mail, that link will go to the specific mail of the student only. So you can make sure that is another choice you have, whether you want to send a mail or you want to send a link over here. In this option, you have the time duration, time minutes, and obviously it shows the timer on the screen top when the paper is being conducted. So student will be able to see the time in reverse. Let us suppose I have set the paper timing as 27 minutes. So my clock will appear on the screen in the form of 27 minutes. Start with 27 minutes, and it will start clicking in the reverse direction, that the time will start reducing, and the students can continuously see how much time is left in the paper. So the students can practice and attempt the paper accordingly. Now coming on to my next tip. For multiple line questions, add a section to your paper. This is a very big limitation of a Google form. That, let us suppose you have written a line and then you want to move to the next line and add some more paragraph to your question paper. This is not possible directly in the Google Forms. So how you can do it in Google Forms? Let us go to the question paper. Okay. I have not added the section over here. In this example, I wanted to share a image with the students, and based on this image, I wanted to ask 4 5 questions in the coming part. Now the problem is I cannot have paragraphing in my paper. For example, let us suppose I am trying to frame a new paper, and new I am trying to form a new paper over here. Okay, let us suppose this is a paper where I want to have multiple lines in my paper. This, read the question below and answer the parts 1 to 4. Now, in this type of question, I am giving some description of a paper over here, and based on this description, I want to ask the questions. For example, in English paper, we have an unseen passage. So passage is written there, and on the basis of the passage given, the questions are being asked. Now that passage can be added here in the form of a image, so that the students will go through the detail of that form, or the complete passage may be copied down here. But the problem over here is I cannot have the multiple line or multiple paragraphing over here. For example, if I am trying to press and enter over here, but I cannot move to the next line because that option is not provided to me over here. Multiple paragraph writing is not possible here. So what is the choice do I have? I can go with the add section option. So once I add a section over here, you can see here that on the top, this untitled section is given to me here. Now I can write down whatever I want over here, and this description is a multiple line space given to me. That means I can write down as much as I want over here, and after that, after this description, after whatever is being typed over here, after this description, I can add the multiple questions over here or different questions over here based on this. Another advantage of adding this section over here is, Let us suppose you have added an image, and on the basis of that image, you are asking 4-5 questions. But you remember in the beginning, we told that the questions should be shuffled. So when you shuffle the questions, you have given image in a different part and the 4 questions based on that image in the separate part. So in the shuffling, it might happen that the image has gone down and the questions have come above. But you want the questions on the basis of this section. What will happen is whatever is written on the top of the section will come there itself on the top of that section, and the questions based on that will come below it. But yes, within that section, if there are 5 questions, that 5 questions will be shuffled or jumbled for the students. That means the heading part of the question and the remaining parts given below that section will be shuffled together. So that means if you are adding such a question, for example, let me have a view over here. Let us go to this question where I have added an image over here. First of all, with the help of this section, I have given a description over here. Then I have added just an image. I have given a description, I have added just an image, and after adding the image, I have given the 4 questions. And after that question is over, I broke the section again. That means these 4 questions along with the image and the title of that section is just one part. This one part, that means section 3 of the 4 sections. There are total 4 sections in this paper. Out of the 4 sections, this section number 3 will be intact with this heading coming onto the top. But yes, within this section, these 4 questions will be shuffled for the students. So this is really going to help you in framing a particular paper in a better manner. And the last tip from my side is to check the paper question wise rather than student wise. What happens manually when we get a bundle of papers for corrections, we pick up one paper, either the paper of the best student or maybe the other ways as you all do. Mostly what we all do, we try to find out the best paper, and then we start just to have a good mood and motivate ourselves. But in the online paper, it is very convenient to check the paper question wise rather than student wise. I will show you how it happens and how it works. Let us suppose this paper was conducted and 23 students have given this test. So I'll go to the responses. Now I have a choice over here. Whether I want to see the summary, I want to see the summary, how much marks are being scored by the students. On average, out of this paper was of 26 marks, and approximately 18 to 20 marks is the average marks taken by the students, and it is giving me just the detailed summary of that paper who all have attempted as this along with the names of the students. Now if I go on an individual basis, now it is showing me the name of the student. The name of the student is Vipul over here, and he has attempted this paper, and this complete paper is given here. All those papers for which keys were stored, answer keys were stored, they are automatically evaluated, so I do not have to evaluate it. But the questions which were descriptive, that I will check manually myself, and accordingly I can give the marks over here. Another thing is, I have seen this paper individually student wise, but if I go on the paper question wise, now what I see over here is the question number 1, obviously it was the name of the student, so no marks were given to it. The second part was the question where I asked the students to give the full form of this abbreviation, and I can change the question. I can jump to the next questions one by one. Let us suppose I asked this question, give an advantage of an ARPANET. So this is obviously not a direct question which is not given anywhere. So I tried to take out the understanding concept of the students, and the different students have given it different answers. So one question I can check for all the answers given by the students, I can evaluate them all together. So it becomes easier for me as a teacher to correct the papers question wise. This is all I thought I could share with you. But rest, if you have any queries, you are most welcome to write a comment below, and I will try my level best to make your queries clear